She said I deserved someone who wanted the same things I did. I thanked her for the honesty, let her go kindly, and chose peace. Time made everything clear when she reached out after realizing compatibility isn't easily replaced. I can't keep doing this, she said, her voice steady in a way that told me she'd rehearsed this moment. You deserve someone who wants the same things you do. I looked up from my coffee, the mug warm between my hands, and felt something shift in the air between us. This wasn't a fight. This was an ending. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. I was 31, she was 29, and we'd been together for 3.5 years. We were sitting in my apartment on a Sunday morning, the kind of quiet morning that used to feel comfortable. Now it felt like standing on ice that was about to crack. What does that mean? I asked, keeping my voice level. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a nervous gesture I'd seen 1,000 times. It means I've been thinking a lot about what I want, and I don't think we're going in the same direction anymore. I set my mug down carefully. We've talked about this before. You knew from the start I wasn't sure about kids. I've always been honest about that. I know, she said, and I thought I could be okay with it. I really did. She looked down at her hands, twisting the ring on her middle finger. But the truth is, I can't. And it's not fair to either of us to keep pretending. I felt a strange calm settle over me. Not relief, exactly. More like clarity. So this is it? I asked. You're ending things because I might not want kids. It's not just that, she said, meeting my eyes. It's the lifestyle stuff too. You're happy with your job, your apartment, your routine. You don't want to travel like I do. You're content with staying in most weekends. I need more. I nodded slowly, processing her words. She wasn't wrong. I did like my routine. I worked as a software architect for a mid-sized tech company, made good money, and genuinely enjoyed what I did. I liked my apartment in the suburbs, liked cooking dinner at home, liked reading before bed. I traveled plenty in my 20s and felt satisfied with that chapter. She, on the other hand, followed travel bloggers on Instagram like they were prophets, talked constantly about digital nomad lifestyles, and seemed restless whenever we spent more than 2 weekends in a row at home. I'm not going to fight you on this, I said quietly. Something flickered across her face. Surprise, maybe. Or disappointment. You're not. No, I said. If you're not happy, if you want different things, then you're right. We should end this now before we both waste more time. She blinked, and I saw her eyes get glossy. Just like that. What do you want me to do? I asked, not unkindly. Beg you to stay when you just told me we're incompatible? Try to convince you to give up what you want? That's not fair to you. She wiped at her eyes quickly. I thought you'd be more upset. I am upset, I told her honestly. I care about you, but I also respect your decision. And honestly, you're probably right. We do want different things. We sat in silence for a moment. The coffee maker beeped in the kitchen, signaling the end of its brew cycle. Somehow that small sound felt significant, like punctuation at the end of a sentence. So what happens now? She asked. I guess you take your stuff, I said. Most of it's here anyway. She lived in a smaller apartment across town, but had gradually moved most of her belongings to my place over the past year. We'd talked about her officially moving in, but somehow never quite pulled the trigger. Now I understood why. I can come get it later this week, she said. I don't want to drag this out. That's fine. She stood up, looking lost in my living room despite having spent countless nights here. I really do want you to be happy, she said. I mean that. I know, I said, standing as well. I want the same for you. She grabbed her purse from the counter, her overnight bag from the bedroom. At the door, she paused. Can I ask you something? Sure. Did you ever love me? Like really love me? The question hung in the air. I thought about all our good moments. Late night conversations, lazy Sunday mornings, inside jokes that made us laugh until we couldn't breathe. Yeah, I said. I did. I do. But not enough to change, she said softly. Not enough to pretend to be someone I'm not. I corrected gently. There's a difference. She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks now. Goodbye, she whispered. Take care of yourself, I said. And then she was gone. I stood in the doorway for a long moment, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway, the ding of the elevator, the silence that followed. Then I closed the door, locked it, and went back to my coffee. It had gone cold. The next few weeks were strange. Not devastating, like I'd expected. More like adjusting to a new normal. I went to work, came home, cooked dinner, read, slept. I packed up her belongings carefully when she texted to say she'd pick them up on Thursday. She came with a friend, a girl named Melissa who gave me sympathetic looks while helping carry boxes to the car. The whole exchange took maybe 20 minutes. We were cordial, almost businesslike. "I think that's everything," she said, looking around my apartment one last time. "If I find anything else, I'll let you know," I said. "Thanks." She hesitated at the door again, like she wanted to say something. But then Melissa called from the hallway, and the moment passed. After they left, my apartment felt bigger, emptier, but also more authentically mine. I rearranged some furniture, getting rid of the decorative pillows she'd insisted on, moving the bookshelf back to where I'd originally had it. Small changes, but they mattered. My best friend, Chris, called that weekend. "Dude, I heard. You okay?" "Yeah, actually, I am. That's it. No heartbreak, no binge drinking, no depressing Spotify playlists." I laughed. "What can I say? We wanted different things." She was honest about it. I respected that. "You're weirdly mature about this," Chris said suspiciously. "It's kind of creepy. Would you prefer I be a mess?" "I'd prefer you be human. Normal people don't just shrug off 3.5-year relationships." "I'm not shrugging it off," I said, walking to my kitchen to grab a beer. "I'm just not going to pretend it was something it wasn't. We were good together for a while. Then we weren't." "That's okay." Chris was quiet for a moment. "You really are okay." "I really am." And I was. It surprised me too. I'd expected to be wrecked, to spend weeks wallowing. But instead, I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying something heavy and finally set it down. The truth was, the relationship had been straining for months, maybe longer. Every time she brought up weekend trips I wasn't interested in, every conversation about moving abroad for a year, every subtle hint about future kids and family plans. I'd felt this low-level anxiety, this sense that I was disappointing her just by being myself. Now that pressure was gone. I could just be. I got back into hobbies I'd let slide. Started going to the climbing gym again, something I'd done regularly before we got serious. She'd never been interested in it, always preferred yoga or hiking. So I gradually stopped going, not because she asked me to, but because it felt easier to do things we both enjoyed. Now I was back, and damn, it felt good. The physical challenge, the mental focus, the satisfaction of completing a difficult route. I'd missed it more than I'd realized. I also started cooking more ambitiously. She'd been a picky eater, didn't like spicy food, was weird about textures. I'd unconsciously limited my repertoire to things she'd eat. Now I was making Thai curries hot enough to make my eyes water, experimenting with Moroccan taginess, trying my hand at homemade pasta. My kitchen smelled amazing, and I felt creative in a way I hadn't in years. Work got better too. I'd been coasting for a while, doing good work, but not pushing myself. Now I volunteered for a challenging new project, started mentoring a junior developer, even pitched an idea for improving our deployment pipeline that got approved by the CTO. My manager noticed. "You seem different lately," she said during our one-on-one. "More engaged." "Just feeling motivated," I said. She smiled. "Well, keep it up." The team's noticed. In a good way. 2 months after the breakup, I ran into one of her friends at a coffee shop. Rachel, someone we'd hung out with a few times at group dinners. "Hey," she said, looking uncertain. "How are you?" "Good," I said. "Really good, actually." "You?" "I'm fine. I wanted to say I'm sorry about what happened." I shrugged. "Don't be. It's for the best." Rachel studied me like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. She said, "You took it really well." What else was I supposed to do? I don't know. Most guys would have fought for the relationship. Tried to convince her to stay. I thought about that while I waited for my coffee order. "Here's the thing," I said finally. She told me clearly what she wanted, and it wasn't what I wanted. Fighting for the relationship would have just been fighting for her to compromise on her dreams. That's not love. That's selfishness. Rachel's expression shifted to something like respect. Wow, she really did let a good one go. My name was called, and I grabbed my coffee. "We both made the right choice," I said. "I hope she finds what she's looking for." And I meant it. 3 months post-breakup, I went on my first date. Not because I was looking for anything serious. A woman from the climbing gym, Amanda, had struck up a conversation after I finished a particularly difficult route. We'd chatted for a while, discovered we both loved the same obscure science fiction author, and she'd suggested getting coffee. It was easy, comfortable, no pressure. We talked for 2 hours, mostly about books and climbing and her job as a landscape architect. At the end, she said, "This was fun. Want to do it again?" "Yeah," I said. "I'd like that." We went on a few more dates over the next month. Nothing intense, nothing exclusive. Just 2 people enjoying each other's company. Amanda was direct in a way I appreciated. I'm not looking for anything serious right now, she told me on our third date. I like you, but I'm focused on my career. Is that okay? More than okay, I said. I'm in the same place. She grinned. Perfect. Let's just have fun then. And we did. It was refreshing, this lightness. No heavy conversations about the future, no expectations I couldn't meet. Just good food, interesting conversations, occasional physical intimacy without emotional complications. I realized this was what I'd been missing with my ex. The ability to just exist in the present without constantly worrying about whether I was measuring up to some future vision. For months after the breakup, I got promoted. Senior software architect, a significant pay bump, and the autonomy to shape projects from the ground up. I celebrated by upgrading my apartment. Not moving, but making the space truly mine. New couch, better lighting, a proper desk setup for the occasional work-from-home days. I hung art I actually liked instead of the neutral prints my ex had chosen. I bought a ridiculously comfortable reading chair and put it by the window. My apartment became a space I loved coming home to. Chris came over to see the changes and let out a low whistle. Dude, this place looks incredible. Thanks. Feels good to make it mine. He flopped on the new couch. You know what's crazy? You seem happier now than you did the entire last year of your relationship. I thought about that while I grabbed us beers from the fridge. I think I probably am, I admitted. Why didn't you end it sooner then? I handed him a beer and sat in my new reading chair. Because it wasn't bad. It was just not quite right. And when something isn't actively bad, it's easy to convince yourself it's good enough. But it wasn't. No, I said. It wasn't. For either of us. Chris took a long drink. She asked about you, by the way. I looked up, surprised. When? Last week. Rachel mentioned you got promoted. She wanted to know how you were doing. What did you say? That you were killing it at work, dating casually, seemed genuinely happy. He paused. She got quiet after that. I didn't know what to say to that. Do you ever miss her? Chris asked. Sometimes, I said honestly. I miss having someone to share things with. But do I miss her specifically? Not really. Does that make me an asshole? No, Chris said. It makes you honest. Which, honestly, is probably why she's been asking about you. What do you mean? Think about it. She thought you'd fall apart without her. Instead, you thrived. That's got to mess with her head a little. I hadn't thought about it that way. I didn't thrive despite her, I said. I thrived because I finally stopped trying to fit into someone else's vision of what my life should be. I know that, Chris said. But does she? 5 months after the breakup, I got a text. From her. My stomach did a weird flip when I saw her name on my phone. Hey, I know this is out of the blue, but I've been thinking about you. How are you? I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. I'm good. Work's going well. Hope you're doing okay too. Simple, friendly, not encouraging further conversation. She replied almost immediately. That's great. I heard about your promotion. Congratulations. Thanks. A pause, then, I'm actually back in town. I've been traveling for the past few months, but needed to come back for some family stuff. Would you want to grab coffee sometime? Just to catch up? I read the message 3 times. Every instinct told me this was a bad idea, but curiosity won out. Sure. When works for you. We made plans for Saturday afternoon at a coffee shop halfway between our places. Neutral territory. When Saturday came, I almost canceled. But I didn't. I showed up 5 minutes early, ordered my usual, and sat at a table by the window. She walked in right on time, and I was struck by how different she looked. Not bad different. Just tired. She'd lost weight. Her hair was longer, and there was something in her eyes I couldn't quite name. Hi, she said, sitting down across from me. Hi. For a moment, we just looked at each other. You look good, she said finally. Really good. Thanks. So do you. It wasn't entirely true, but it seemed like the right thing to say. She ordered a latte, and we made small talk while she waited for it. The weather, mutual friends, her travels. She'd been to Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia. Exactly the kind of trip she'd always wanted to take. It was amazing, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. But, I prompted. She sighed. But it was also lonely. I thought I'd meet people, you know? Other travelers, make connections. And I did, but they were all so temporary. Everyone's just passing through. I nodded, not sure what to say. How's the dating scene been for you? She asked, trying to sound casual. Fine, I said. Nothing serious. Just enjoying meeting new people. Something flickered across her face. That's good. You deserve to be happy. So do you, I said. Are you? She looked down at her latte. I thought I would be. I'm doing everything I said I wanted to do. traveling, being spontaneous, living without a plan. But, she trailed off. But what? But it turns out that's not actually what I wanted. Or maybe it is, but not the way I thought. She met my eyes. I miss having someone to share it with. Someone who knows me, who I can call at the end of the day and just talk to. I felt a warning bell go off in my head. You can build that with someone new, I said carefully. I know, but it's not the same. It takes time to build that kind of connection. And everyone I meet while traveling is just surface level. We sat in silence for a moment. Why did you really want to meet? I asked. She bit her lip, a gesture I remembered well. Because I think I made a mistake. There it was. The real reason. Breaking up with me was a mistake? I said, keeping my voice neutral. Maybe. I don't know. I just know that I've been thinking about you a lot. About us. About how good we were together. We weren't that good together, I said gently. Remember? We wanted different things. But we didn't really try to compromise, she said, leaning forward. We just accepted that we were incompatible and gave up. I set my coffee down. What would compromise have looked like? I asked. Me pretending to want kids? You giving up your travel dreams? One of us slowly resenting the other for holding them back. It doesn't have to be that black and white, doesn't it? I said. You said it yourself. You want kids. I don't know if I do, and I'm leaning toward no. You want to travel extensively, maybe even move abroad. I'm happy with my life here. Those aren't small differences. People work through bigger differences all the time. Do they? Or do they just postpone the inevitable? She looked frustrated now. When did you become so cynical? I'm not cynical, I said. I'm realistic. And honestly, I'm happy. Really happy. For the first time in a long time. Because of someone else? She asked, and there was an edge to her voice. No. Because of me. Because I stopped trying to be something I'm not. She sat back, looking stung. Is that what you think you were doing with me? Pretending. I considered that carefully. Not consciously. But yeah, kind of. I was trying to want what you wanted. Trying to be excited about things that didn't excite me. And I think you were doing the same thing. Convincing yourself you could be happy with less adventure than you actually needed. So we were both lying to each other. No, I said. We were both trying to make it work. There's a difference. But trying doesn't change fundamental incompatibility. She blinked rapidly, fighting tears. I just thought. I don't know what I thought. That maybe we could try again. See if things could be different. What would be different? I asked, not unkindly. Do you suddenly not want kids? Am I suddenly going to want to spend months traveling? She didn't answer. I didn't think so, I said softly. We sat in heavy silence. Around us, the coffee shop buzzed with life. People working on laptops, friends laughing, a couple in the corner holding hands. I saw your apartment, she said suddenly. Rachel showed me pictures. It looks amazing. Thanks. I'm really happy with it. It looks like you, she said. More than it ever did when I was there. I didn't know what to say to that. I'm seeing someone, she said abruptly. Nothing serious. A guy I met in Bali. He's American, but he's been traveling for 2 years. He wants to keep going indefinitely. That sounds perfect for you, I said, and meant it. But he's not. She stopped herself. He's not what? He's not you. He doesn't have his life together like you do. He's living on savings and freelance work, no real plan. And I thought that's what I wanted, someone spontaneous and adventurous. But it turns out that's actually kind of stressful. I could see where this was going. So you want someone who's stable like me but adventurous like him, I said. When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It's just specific. And specific is hard to find. She laughed, but it came out bitter. Why are you so understanding about this? Don't you want to tell me I'm an idiot for letting you go? No, I said simply. Because you weren't an idiot. You were honest about what you wanted. That's brave, even if it's complicated. She wiped at her eyes. You've really moved on, haven't you? I thought about my life now. My job, my apartment, my hobbies, my casual dating, my contentment. Yeah, I said. I have. And you're happy. I am. She nodded slowly, processing. I'm glad, she said, and I could hear that she was trying to mean it. You deserve that. So do you, I said. And you'll find it. But not with me. We both know that. She gathered her purse, stood up. Thanks for meeting me. And for being so kind about this. Of course. She hesitated, like she might say something else. Then she leaned down and kissed my cheek quickly. Take care of yourself, she said. You too. I watched her leave, walking out into the afternoon sunshine. And I felt nothing. No regret. No second thoughts. No urge to run after her. Just a quiet certainty that I'd made the right choice, both then and now. I finished my coffee, scrolled through my phone for a bit, then headed home. That evening, Amanda texted asking if I wanted to try a new Thai place that had opened downtown. I said yes. We had dinner, laughed about a disastrous climbing attempt she'd made that week, debated the ending of the book we'd both just finished. It was easy and fun and uncomplicated. Exactly what I needed. When I got home later, I found myself thinking about the coffee shop conversation, about how my ex had expected me to either fall apart or take her back, how she seemed genuinely confused by my contentment. The truth was, the breakup had been a gift. Not immediately, and not in the way either of us had expected, but it had freed me to figure out who I actually was and what I actually wanted. Not who I thought I should be or what I thought I should want. Just me, authentic and unapologetic. I liked my quiet life. I liked my career focus, my established routines, my small circle of close friends. I liked having a home base, not constantly seeking the next adventure. I liked knowing what to expect from my days, having stability and security. None of that was boring or settling. It was simply who I was. And pretending otherwise, even for someone I cared about, would have eventually destroyed both of us. I'd learned that you can love someone and still be wrong for each other. That compatibility isn't about compromising yourself into someone else's vision. That sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let someone go gently, without bitterness or drama. My ex had done that for me, whether she realized it or not. She'd been honest enough to admit we weren't right for each other, brave enough to end it even though it was easier to stay. And now she was learning the same lesson I had. That freedom is great, but it comes with its own challenges. That adventure loses its shine when you have no one to share it with. That maybe what we want isn't always what we need. A week after our coffee meeting, she texted again. I've been thinking about what you said. You were right. We were incompatible in ways that matter. I just wanted you to know I get it now. And I'm sorry for trying to pull you back into something that wouldn't have worked. You deserve your peace. I smiled at the message. Thanks for saying that. I hope you find your peace too. Genuinely. I'm working on it. Also, I'm thinking of coming back stateside for a while. The nomad life isn't as fulfilling as I thought. But I'm going to look at cities other than here. Maybe Portland or Austin. Places with better outdoor scenes. That sounds like a good move. Yeah, I think I need to build a life somewhere before I can truly enjoy traveling from it. If that makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Thanks for understanding. And for being so gracious about everything. You're a good guy. I hope whoever you end up with appreciates that. I hope you find someone who wants exactly what you want. And that was our last meaningful exchange. We'd text occasionally after that. Mostly around holidays or when mutual friends had big news. Brief, friendly, the way exes should be when there's no lingering animosity. 6 months after the breakup, I was at Chris's birthday party when someone asked me about my ex. Whatever happened with you two? You seemed so solid. We wanted different things, I said simply. She did me a favor by being honest about it. No hard feelings. None. She's figuring out her life. I'm living mine. It worked out for the best. And it had. My life wasn't dramatic or exciting in the way her travels were, but it was mine, fully and completely. I'd learned to value peace over passion, compatibility over compromise, authenticity over accommodation. I'd learned that letting go with grace is its own kind of strength. That respecting someone's choice, even when it hurts, is sometimes the deepest form of love. And most importantly, I'd learned that the right person wouldn't require me to change who I fundamentally was. They'd appreciate my quiet contentment, my love of routine, my ambivalence about parenthood. They wouldn't see these things as obstacles to overcome, but as parts of me to embrace. Amanda and I eventually ended things too, amicably and without drama. She got a job opportunity in Denver and decided to take it. No hard feelings? She asked on our last night together. None at all, I said honestly. This was exactly what we both needed when we needed it. You're going to make someone very happy someday, she said. Someone who wants what you want. Maybe, I said. Or maybe I'll just be happy on my own for a while. That's okay too. She hugged me tight. It really is. A year after the breakup, I was exactly where I wanted to be. Thriving at work, content at home, surrounded by people who valued me as I was. I'd started volunteering at a local literacy program, teaching adults to code. I'd planned a solo trip to Japan, something I'd always wanted to do but had never prioritized. I'd adopted a cat from the shelter, a grumpy orange tabby who hated everyone but loved me. Life was good. Not perfect, not Instagram-worthy, not the kind of life that would impress strangers. But it was authentically mine, and that made all the difference. I thought about my ex sometimes, wondered if she'd found what she was looking for. I hoped she had. Not because I wanted her back or felt any residual attachment, but because she'd given me the gift of freedom by letting me go. And everyone deserves to find their own version of happiness, even if it takes a while to figure out what that looks like. The end of our relationship wasn't a tragedy. It was a course correction. Two people realizing they were headed in different directions and having the courage to part ways before resentment could take root. She'd said I deserved someone who wanted what I wanted. She was right. And by letting me go, she'd given me the chance to find that, or to find contentment on my own. Either way, I'd won. Because I'd learned that the worst relationship isn't the one that ends. It's the one you stay in knowing it's wrong, slowly losing pieces of yourself trying to make it fit. I'd escaped that fate. And so had she. That was worth celebrating, even if we were celebrating separately. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes it means choosing peace over fighting for something that was never quite right. Sometimes it means thanking someone for their honesty and walking away with your head held high. I did all those things, and I never regretted it. Not even for a moment. Because on the other side of that ending was the beginning I actually needed. A beginning where I didn't have to apologize for who I was or pretend to want things I didn't. Where my quiet life was enough. Where I was enough. And that was the best possible outcome.